Thank you very much. So, here we are. I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I truly understand what it means to do what you do because it's what I do every day. And it's outstanding work, and it is the most thankless work. We leave each day and we wonder why we keep doing it, right? And for some reason, we just keep going in. So I was thinking about what to write, and I really, and I want you to bear with me, I kind of write from my heart. I try and write how I speak. And it's funny because the two people that read what I was going to say last night said, oh, it just sounds like you. So there are tons of run-on sentences, and some things are, secrets that maybe only I would know. But I'm happy to share this moment with you and maybe just be a little bit inspiring to you and recognize what all of you do, because it's really your work that is so important. And the first thing that came to my mind was to say, playtime. Playtime. Books are read, math equations are resolved, facts are memorized, and voila, it's playtime. Freedom. Friendships, relaxation, snacks, dress up, games, spreading out on the floor, braiding hair, chasing, running, hiding, seeking, dancing, laughing out loud, screaming out loud, running, tripping, falling, scraped knees, getting up and running, tripping, falling again and again. Glee, gossip, secrets. This is my inside joke. Playing Charlie's Angels and not caring that you're selected to play Jaclyn Smith's part. Just as long as you can be part of the group. Because a little secret is I always wanted to be Jaclyn Smith's part, but I was, not. I was Kate all the time. The prettier girl was Jaclyn Smith. So now you just all told your age. So thank you. This group in the front, thank you. The rest of you that don't understand what I'm talking about, you're just going to have to Google it. Honestly, it's just as long as you could be part of the group, any group, because all are welcome, sharing dreams and making the best friends and the best memories, where those best friends might only last a week or a month, but it seems like an eternity, and it means everything to you. You remember this well. You remember how there weren't any real rules and that everyone was included? Everyone gets a chance. Everyone gets to play. As kids, we knew these rules already. They came with the territory. And as kids, we kept coming back to that same group, that same game, over and over again, kind of replaying an action to find an answer, right? Usually never getting enough of that game and really just wondering when we'll be able to play again with those same friends. To feel that same feeling over and over again until it loses its luster, or you change the rules, or you get a little bit more daring. And it's never enough. Never enough. Sometimes we start there, we start something, and we see if we can replicate it at home, where there's more quiet time. Like when you learn to make a weave out of construction paper. Or you want to use more colors or a different zigzag pattern with the scissor cutting. It turns into a paper purse or just a cool design. Or when you learn to make a square box out of construction paper and you decide to make a whole city of boxes and turn them into buildings and places that you know in your neighborhood, at home, on the floor of your bedroom, and it continues to grow until you had no green paper left to continue that part of the land. These are some of my secrets too. So you worked on roads with brown paper and building different shapes of houses and maybe a car or a school bus, or decided, well, land can be a different color since I ran out of green. I'll just make my land purple. You'll pretend it's a field of flowers and make a farm nearby. And then Thursday comes and it disappears because it's cleaning day. And Mom moved it so she could vacuum. And then you have to start all over again. And you build it better, stronger, and this time you use glue so you don't see tape marks. And you plan out how much land so you don't run out of green paper. And you set your city up more carefully this second and third and fourth time, and yes, fifth time around. Not all your buildings are square or rectangle. This time, they might even include people and maybe a name of the city. And that city never runs out of possibilities. You all know what I'm talking about. I mean, these are the things that I did as a child, but what we do every day with children serves and delivers on these possibilities. I don't have to tell you how valuable your presence is every day in the life of a child, but I'm going to say it like a million times today. You are the reason dreams are made. Simple lessons turned into powerful goals in the mind of a child. That child can make land turn purple if he needs to, and back it up with reasoning as well. My story is very simple and ordinary. I am very ordinary. My passion and desire to be on the stage as a young child, a rebellious teen, and then a practical young woman came about because I was allowed to dream. If you didn't have a dream, you didn't have anything. That was like what was going on back when we were all growing up, right? If you had a dream, you were special. Even dreams can be disappointing, though. We've learned that. Life never seems to work out the way you envision it to become, does it? With ease, comfort, unending happiness, unending support, a network of friends that magically appear whenever you need anything, exotic travel, stardom, fame, glory, money, success across the board, just perfection. Dreams swirl in your head. They distract you. They don't ground you. They keep you uplifted in the air where you can't see things clearly. Dreams are perfection to a fault. Where are my dreamers? And if you are an experienced dreamer, you know that your dreams sometimes change paths, and that sometimes your dreams lead you to where you really need to go sometimes. Your dreams are so disappointing, and the prospect of things coming true, dreams coming true, falls into the drain, and you can't figure out which way to go. And just when you think everything is over, and you're giving up on things, a door cracks open, and something happens. And that's something because you had this little light inside of you that said you were allowed to dream. What you do every single day is so important to the lives of children. I have to say that at 3 o'clock, that's where the real work begins. Any given day, the kids sit in chairs all day long. They listen to specific rules all day long. They learn concrete facts and answers all day long. And then the bell rings, and at 3 o'clock, they are off. And I just say 3 o'clock because that's the general time. It could be 4 o'clock if you're in middle school. It could be 2 o'clock if you're in elementary school. For us, it's 2:40. And we also include about 15 minutes to go kiss our boyfriend or girlfriend outside, and then make it into my room in high school. And then it's 3 o'clock, and they are off. Kids have all of this stuff inside of their heads, and then all of a sudden, magic happens. At 3 o'clock, I basically put on my cape. Anybody else have a cape? Yes. And I brace myself. And the bell rings, and my door busts open with anywhere from 20 to 75 drama kids. And let me emphasize, high school drama kids. where the emotions are raging high at any given moment, and there is noise and chaos everywhere. Everywhere they go, there's a mess behind them. It's as though 7 different twisters, like tornadoes, have come through my classroom and have sifted through and then guided everything in its path. I actually have recurring nightmares about that. There's one nightmare where I'm in a very high-rise building and I can see twister tornadoes circling around me, I swear to God. And it's so exciting. Every single day. So how do you control something like that? It reminds me of when the sun is setting and the bats are letting loose and escaping their cave. Okay? And we only recognize that we have bats at our school because we annually have done this haunted high school event, and it usually would, we've done it for 12 years. This year we did a not so scary haunted high school event, but for 12 years we did the most scariest nonsense of like haunted high school rooms where everybody would go from room to room, and we would scare the bejesus out of all these little like 6th and 7th graders, and they had so much fun doing it. But one night, true story, the sun was setting and someone saw that there were bats coming out of a hole over the art room. And we were like, this is freaky and cool. And those really were exciting times. And the bats that let loose in my classroom, well, that's just nature, right? They're supposed to do that. And in my classroom, it's kind of the same thing. It's just nature. They're supposed to come, get messy, roll up their sleeves, explore, create, make 1 million mistakes, get nothing right, learn things over and over and over again until maybe they're perfected, and they push me aside as the teacher and say, I want to do it myself. Like imagine me like in a rolling chair with rope tied up around. And then they roll me off into the corner. That's basically what happens every day for the past 16 years. But they're supposed to do that. So essentially what happens to me at 3 o'clock is I stop being a teacher and I become something else. Like you might want to call it like a facilitator, if you want to give it like a fancy kind of name, because I do have to like hand out Band-Aids if there's a problem. But without them knowing it, I am there like a puppeteer or like a marionette handler, and I'm just pulling the strings and leading the kids in different directions. And along the way, I'm watching that they're safe and watching that they're stretching themselves as far as they can possibly go without snapping like a rubber band, to make sure that they come back to where they need to begin again all over. So for us in high school level, it all becomes a challenge for all the things that happen every single day in the lives of these miniature adults. You know, that age group that I work with are the ones that know everything. No, like seriously, they know everything. And I know nothing at all. I have no idea what's going on because I was never their age. There was a time when I started telling my students that I was 65, and they didn't believe it. This is a long time ago. Yes. And I would say to them, and this would always happen in the middle of like a lesson plan, well, you know, when you get to be my age at 65, then you can tell me what's going on, da-da-da-da. And it would just be like roll off the tongue, and they'd all be going, what? But it's true. And then, you know, back in the day, they would say, you are not 65, Herzfeld. But now when I say that, now when I say that, they take pause and look me up and down like, is she really 65? Could be. And then once in a while, I get, like, it's funny when I do get the parent open house night, and they come in, and the fathers will go like, "You're not 65." And I just dressed comfortably for you today. I didn't want to, like, I'm dressing like, this is dress up for me. So, you know, and someone was jealous of my Make Art Not War t-shirt because it has bedazzles all over it. That's only because I'm in with the guidance department, and she stuck them on there for me. You need to bedazzle, darling, is what she said. I'm like, okay. So this is dress up. It's quite funny. But I don't sit around trying to get a pat on the back, and I don't get thank yous the way that I would like to sometimes from these little miniature adults. I don't get the appreciation or the love that I deserve every single day. I don't, but the work that we do, the thanks that we get is in retrospect, if that makes sense to you. It's in the calls and in the letters and in the relationships that continue after school is finished. I have a former student here who's like going to have a baby. Like, I feel like I'm gonna be not a grandmother, but a great grandmother. Because remember, I'm close to 65 now. So these are like the moments that are so special. School's finished and they move on and they do become real adults, and they're working and realizing that all of the lessons and the freedom that they had within the confines of our walls now were blessings to them, because they were given an opportunity to be free and explore and be exactly who they thought they were. And along the way, life happened. They were put into situations where they had to grow up, and they were ready because they were supported to have a strong voice to speak their mind and not take no for an answer. And the world really recognizes what a lot of my students, my drama kids, were given when a real life situation happened at our school, where they felt so compelled and so free to speak up about gun violence and speak up for what happened at our school in a way that was completely unhinged, improvised, challenging, focused like a laser beam, and really ready for anything. It's almost as though they were preparing for that day. And what we saw happen around the world is that kids were able to dream and were given permission just by saying yes a couple of thousand times to them, and that they felt strong enough to speak up and stand the ground that they were walking on and speak up for others as well. So when arts and sports, music, or any other extracurricular programs that are offered after school that take the place out of the realm of traditional school settings, a place where kids are in supervised play, it will help them to grow up, to become stronger and vocal and confident and curious about this world, and also to become opinionated. Everything that we do, you do, every day is for good, for really good. And we as a group come to this table every day and we put our hands up and say, why am I doing this? Why? And I'll tell you, I ask that question to myself quite often. I ask it every day. And I'm not really sure what the answer is, but I know that I'm driven by this work. And I still don't really know what the answer is. So essentially at 3 o'clock, oh God, every day, the rules change. And we encourage our kids to be loud and proud and to create and collaborate and to make something very, very special. And it doesn't make a difference if it's a pot holder or a friendship bracelet or a piece of music or a robot or a paper flower or a secret handshake, which I don't have one yet, but I'm working on it. and in my case, performances of a lifetime. We encourage our students at 3 o'clock, it's magic time. And our job is to be the wizard. And with that title, what we do has so many responsibilities, sometimes even greater than the 1-hour confines of a regular classroom setting. We get the release, we get the tears, we get the joys, we get the complexities, we get the accomplishments. We get to see these kids in a completely different way and in a completely different light because they feel free, they feel encouraged, and someone is there to say yes. And I have to admit, it's not so much fun all the time. With every project, I ask myself, what am I doing? And my famous quotes in times of questioning of why I work with kids have been for the following situations. For example, no one's listening. That doesn't happen, right? And then I come up with my famous quotable quotes. I feel like a salmon swimming upstream. And you say this to a 17-year-old. And then they present you with an award of a salmon swimming upstream. Not joking, it's on my desk. Another thing that's famous that happens, everyone's playing around. So I will come back and say, and this is also a famous Herzfeld quote, I feel like I'm in a windy field trying to catch butterflies in a net with a hole. There's a lot of imagery right there, so I know that you're getting the metaphor. It's like Shakespeare afterwards. Another thing they do, students have signed up for every club that they can be part of so they can put it on their college resume, except they're not paying attention to the club that they're in charge of. And I say to them, listen, life is like a buffet table. You come to the table and you only take what you can eat. Otherwise, you're going to be throwing out a lot of good food. I know, you're responding exactly the way my students do. Because Herzfeld doesn't really make a lot of sense until it makes sense. Here's another one that's really famous. When the kids are being lazy, surprise, and they don't want to believe in themselves, I would say, I can only lead you to the water, but I cannot make you drink. I hear my mother in here. Here's a really good one. When I know I'm right. I know you all think you're right too, and you're right. I'm telling you right now, you are right. But when I know I'm right, I will say something like, dollars to donuts, if you listen to what I say, you will get it right. That's the New York that comes out of me. Dollars to donuts, or not for nothing. Those things come out, and then I'm good. I'm one with them. This one's a good one. When the 50th kid has asked me where the ruled paper is in the closet. Or any other thing that's in the closet. And you know they've been stealing stuff out of the closet anyway, so they know that it's there. But now they're going to be the angel and ask permission. But my response to that, my famous quote is, once you give birth and become a mother, you too will have the I can find anything gene, so keep looking, otherwise I have to get up and find it myself. It's true, like how many mothers are out there? You automatically get that gene. Like they open the same drawer and it's not there, and you open it and magically it appears. Angela, who's giving birth in a couple of months, she's going to get that gene. It's automatic. And my favorite is when a kid suggests that you said something different in your directions and expectations. That never happens, right? Well, secretly, I do mess up sometimes, but listen, you got to stand your ground with these kids. You have to. My favorite line for that, and it kind of also shows my age, is I'll say, I've been saying the same thing since 1993. My rules have not changed. Oh my God, it's so fun. Oh, there they are. There's Fiddler on the Roof. What a great group of kids. That was last year. That was 2017 in November. Everybody was Jewish. We're all a little bit Jewish. The one thing that I have learned about, one thing that I remember being taught when I was learning how to teach was that the only way to really teach is to become one with the students. I mean, when I think about that now, I get kind of a migraine. But when you're young and you're learning about pedagogy and you're trying to be like the best teacher ever, you actually buy into that. And at least the part where you say, okay, well, I'm a little silly and I do like to dress up, so it's okay. Like, I will, become one with them on costume days. But one thing that I have learned is I'm the only person getting older, right? Everyone I work with is always the same exact age. And I have to constantly remind myself of that because I've been doing this so long, but they just got here. They just got here. And you get really good at teaching these lessons, even in really free environments. As you're teaching the best lesson ever, those are the lessons of life. Those kids look to you in a different way. They see you almost like a family member. You're not someone who's going to give them a grade or fail them or not let them use the restroom pass. You're the one who's going to say yes as often as possible because they're trying to stretch their muscles and figure out where they fit in. And our job is to provide a really, really, really safe place to fail over and over and over again, to encourage them back up and try again and try again and try again, because really no one is watching. You provide a place that is safe for them where they can explore and take chances so that maybe they could be prepared for the real world. Not too long ago, I was having a big family meeting with my students because, teenagers are really nice all the time. You never have to tell them how to behave. And there was, in all seriousness, there was a lot of negative, typical teenage behaviors going on in our group, and it got to a breaking point. My breaking point was it was like the, 20th person coming to give a one-on-one conversation complaint about how someone was treating another person. And there was literally individuals coming up to me on the daily expressing these complaints and sadness. And when we get to complaints, that's one thing, but sadness just is to me, that's where we have to talk about things. And we had just been recently getting through a lot, and we were trying to get our first production up, and it had become a challenge. Kids were constantly not coming to rehearsals. They were leaving school early for appointments with doctors. They were really overextending themselves, not learning their lines or their blocking. And I called a circle for everyone to be present. Teenagers have this thing about being called out, right? Which I don't get. I never get it. They don't want to be directly spoken to when something's wrong. How are you supposed to know what you did? But they set up, we got in a circle, there were 72 of them on a stage, a little bit, probably the size of this, in a huge circle. And we sat down and I said, okay, let's set up the ground rules for this circle. And they decided that first thing, well, no one should be called out. Well, in that circle, so much hurt came up. Feelings of inadequacy, rejection, isolation, stuff that happened 2 years ago, like everything was coming to the table. Really bad emotions while being under my watch. And without realizing it, they called me out. They felt that I was playing favorites, that the leading roles kept going to the same students. Since I'm in charge of casting, that would be me calling me out, my fault. So when I actually addressed the fact that they broke their own rules by essentially calling me out, the collective group like did a tailspin. Everybody started crying, and they're like, "What? You don't count." Like, I don't know, like, just us, only we're not allowed to call each other out, but you're different, I mean, I was sitting there, a grown 65-year-old woman, and I'm thinking, no way. Like, I really felt the need to defend myself to a group that is a fraction of my age, with IQs and EQs. You know what an EQ is, right? Emotional quotient, right? Well above the average. In fact, they're all highly gifted in that area. And I said something like, something rational like, as I'm crying, my selections are subjective, yes. One person's opinion of who should play what role, that's it. Who I felt was best suited, best prepared, and could develop the vision of the story that a director has in her mind. Textbook. Am I right all the time? In my eyes, yes. In other eyes, maybe not, but I try. But one day, you're going to be faced with a tremendous amount of rejections over and over again, not just on the stage, but in life. Not every experience is going to be satisfying and perfect, and I'm trying to prepare you for the real world. I mean, I'm just like abbreviating maybe what I said. I don't remember exactly. I talked longer, I know that, because I can talk for a really, really long time. And I remember coming up with that and saying that. And it's, again, like I've said this conversation a million times over the years. And in that circle, one wonderfully, not him. He's one of the favorites, apparently. Listen, techies are always the favorites. Shout out to the techies up there, because there's not one teacher that knows how to plug in a VGA cord. That's what I really dress up as every day. Sorry about that. So one really wonderfully talented student responded with teary eyes and said, "This isn't the real world." How do you respond to the innocence of what's going on in their minds at that time? Deep on the inside, I know what I wanted to say. But on the outside, it's like, this is a time that I gotta say something important. High school is not the real world. Maybe this was her emotional state at the time, especially with everything that had gone on at the school. When we went back to the school after everything happened, I knew that I had to be the same person that I used to be so that kids could rely on me. They needed something in that school to remain constant. They needed to rely on my loud attitude, my sarcasm, my with-itness, because I'm cool like that, and my unwith-itness, because I don't know what T is, whatever that is. No, I know now, yeah, because they taught it to me. So now I go, what's the T? They needed to rely on my sneakers and jeans and my jackets with 7 pockets and a full set of dangling keys. That's my sound effect when I walk. They can hear my keys coming. And my demanding nature, because I'm a little demanding, my perfectionistic qualities, and my sense of being the very best I can be, and my ordinary and extraordinary people skills, and a stillness and security when they need it the most. That day, I took it all from them in that circle. I took it all. We all cried. They knew I wasn't going to give in and change anything about the way I ran the program. I had to remain the same person to them, even if they didn't like my calls on things. High school is the real world. every age is the real world. They will not always get what they want. There are real consequences for decisions that they make so that they can learn from them. Sometimes decisions are made from other people, and there's nothing we can do about it, except to learn to move on and become stronger. The greatest failures and disappointments, that was right before the circle, by the way. It ended up being an amazing show. But these greatest failures and disappointments can be the best lessons. So I have a theater production class, and in my production class, it doesn't matter how talented you are. You don't get an A based upon how well you sang, or how great of an actor you are, or how great of a musician you are. My grades are actually all based upon responsibilities and challenges and deadlines, because one day they're going to have those. And no one's going to sit there and say, wow, you're so talented, I give you an A. My job, your job, is to give them the real world. When everything happened on February 14th, I became cheerleaders. We do have cheerleaders in the drama program too. But when everything happened on February 14th, I became more of who I was on February 13th. That day taught me one of the greatest lessons that I have ever learned. And so did my kids, my students. They became more of who they were, some for good, and some not for so good. And they're coming around now as we close in on the school year. There have been smaller talks of acceptance, apologies, and forgiveness. I continue to try and make each child feel connected to the group, to myself, and to our classroom, room 710. The weight of the world has been on our shoulders this past year, and we took each day, one by one, waiting to see what would happen, good or bad, and still tried to do what we do best. Dream. We've actually allowed ourselves to laugh and find joy again with even daily setbacks that goes on at our school. We get right back up again, but this time even quicker. There is a sense of urgency to have happiness right now and to get through the emotional grief we are all experiencing, because we now understand that time is so precious to us all now. I've noticed that my kids forgive a lot faster. They tell each other that they love each other like every day, and not just in words and actions. And they even throw Herzfeld a "love you" as they're leaving the classroom on the daily. The kids have been able to take the stage again and bring immense beauty and passion to performance like I've never seen or experienced at our school before. Just when I thought they were really pretty talented kids, they take to their art and they bring it to the next level, even higher than before. We've circled back to what we love. We hold our traditions of taking the stage so close now, almost like a religion. When we circle up before a show, if we have theater teachers out there, you know, sometimes you create a little circle and hold hands, and usually okay, everybody be quiet, and you're telling them to be quiet for like half an hour. And we hold hands, and everybody's goofing around, and someone's half-dressed. Someone doesn't have their mic on. Someone's makeup is still getting done as we're standing there, and they don't take it seriously. And then I send around like an energy squeeze, and I'm supposed to get it back. So it goes around like 80 kids, 90 kids sometimes, and I'm supposed to get that back. And sometimes it just gets lost And I'm like, where did the energy squeeze go? And then I have to start all over again. And it's always done like as a joke in a sense. But now when we circle up before a show, and I didn't say a word about behavior, I was expecting the way we always are. And I asked them to bow our heads for a moment of silence to remember our friends who passed. There's like a reverent quiet and reflection now. What was once like a silly tradition of an energy circle, where there was always someone acting up or being a distraction, now has a newfound meaning. And I didn't teach that. This is real life for us. We were given a gift. We were all forced to become our true self. Dreamers. I know we're probably going to get to one of the slides that has the video in it. Maybe they can jump to it, but it is a little video of the kids when they were having their circle, and they do a little chant at the end. I don't know if it can come up if he's there. Oh, there's the baby. This is from Midsummer Night's Dream. I feel like a mother, and I'm showing you my trip pictures. But I really am so proud of them, because I feel like a mother because they abuse me daily, and then, but then they look good in the family photos. With that, I don't know if the gentleman up there can do that last video. I don't know if it circled around. But it's a great way to just show you their vitality and their energy. He's finding it. Oh, there's the donkey from Midsummer Night's Dream. Oh wait, there's my son, there's my beach. But I never see it on far. That's the kind of energy that they have right now. And those are drama kids doing a football chant. If you ever saw them run, it's so awkward. And my last thing I'm going to say is, like, it's funny because when they do give me a lot of grief, you know that at this point, you know how much grief they give me. When I threaten them that they're going to have to go on color guard or marching band because those kids have to run laps around the school. And drama kids don't like to sweat, so. But we're dreamers. And with that, I want to just say that we are getting back to dreaming and living our best life and experiencing the real world. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me come and share a little bit with you. And I appreciate you all so much, and I love you all so much. If your students haven't told you that lately, sometimes you just say it to them and they'll give it back to you. But thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.